Hello, Baker. It's your mayor. Hope you had a great month. We've been praying for you and your family this month and this community. I'm really excited this evening to about this show and what's going on. I have Fenster Maker with us tonight to talk about our drainage projects that we have. And with Fenster Maker, we have Miss Bliss Bernard. She's the project manager. And Mr. Bill Casimir, he's the engineer and lead modeler here. Good evening, you all.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. I'm excited for what you guys are about to do. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about the company.
All right, so we are super excited to be working for the City of Baker on these 3 drainage improvement projects. I'm Bliss Bernard, I'm with Fenster Maker, and I'm the project manager and lead engineer on the project.
And I'm Bill Katzenmeyer. I am the lead modeler on the project.
The lead modeler. So let me ask you this: what's a lead modeler? What is that?
Well, I do all the clickety part to actually do the modeling work. So I'm actually doing the production.
Yeah. So that just puts it right to the point. And I know what the project manager. So you're the person that's just gonna just move this thing forward.
Make sure the project's already moving.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you, and you can tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Okay. So, first slide, next slide. So we all remember the flood of 2016. Houses flooded, roads flooded, public facilities flooded, and it seems like the flooding is happening more often. Next slide. So following the 2016 flood, the mayor and the city of Baker obtained grant funding through FEMA's HMGP program.
The HMGP program is the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, and as the name implies, it's a set-aside pot of funding meant to address future hazards.
Right.
So basically the purpose of these projects is to improve local drainage. So we want to improve how much and how fast water can flow through these canals to prevent flooding in the future.
So this is what we're talking about here is when you say we talk about local flooding, you guys are really going to get down into it, and we're talking about everyday rain.
Yes, sir.
And we're trying to reduce the repetitive flooding that we have on here.
That's correct.
That's going to be interesting. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so the solution is multifaceted. No one project will solve all of Baker's flooding issues. So we're going to focus on local drainage. So Fenster Maker was contracted to perform engineering services for 3 local projects in the city of Baker. And that's North Canal, Bozeman Creek, and Brushy Bayou. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, those 3 canals, and I looked at the slides prior to, they take about 50 to 60% of the water out of this city. That's where everything drains through.
Yep.
And that's going to be a big deal. How did you guys tell us a little bit about how you plan to do that and work that, because that's a big task right there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So we have to capture the existing conditions. We have to find out what's currently going on. And through that, we send surveyors out there to capture that information, and then we use that information to develop models.
Right.
And Bill can speak more on the modeling effort.
Tell us a little bit about the modeling.
Yeah, so we have generalized topographic information that's available through publicly available data sources statewide, right. And we come in and supplement that with specific topographic surveys within the channel sections, because generally we know how high the land is over sort of a general area, but down in the actual shape of the canal, the size of the culverts, the roughness of the culverts, how much vegetation that we see, right. How irregular the canals are. We go out and we get all that information so we can put together an accurate physical model of the area, the watershed that contributes to those canals.
Right. That's interesting. So Bliss, tell us a little bit, have them to bring up the next slide so we could take a look at how that looks on the map.
Okay. Yeah, so shown on the map, you'll see all 3 projects. And you can tell that all 3 are located in between LA 19 and the Comeet River. The first project is North Canal. It's at the top, shown in blue. It's about 1.5 miles long. It flows north through Baker Estates, where it empties into South Canal. The next project is Brushy Bayou, shown in maroon. It's about 1 mile long. It flows parallel to Groom Road, where it empties into White's Bayou. And the third project is Bozeman Creek, shown in green. It runs parallel to Lavy Lane, crosses Plank Road through Baker's economic district, and then it empties into White's Bayou.
Wow. That's a huge project.
Yeah.
What's the next slide look like? Okay, so the drainage planning steps is, let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so it's very important that proper planning be done before construction so that the best strategies to reduce future flooding are identified.
Right.
So shown here are the four drainage planning steps in the process. And the first one is to perform the existing analysis to fully understand the current conditions. In this step, surveyors will survey the channel and the surrounding areas, and this data will be used to develop a model to determine existing conditions. The next step is the proposed analysis. In this step, alternatives will be developed and analyzed to determine the best solution. Once the best solution is determined, the third step involves developing the proposed engineering plans and cost estimates. And then finally, the construction phase can begin.
This is going to be a good part right here. This is, I mean, you guys are doing a lot of work even before you get started on this to make sure that we do it right. And we really, really appreciate that, you guys. Look, when we come back, we're going to get into this. I mean, I'm going to ask Bliss to break this down for us, and we want to pay a few bills, so we'll be right back.
So we're going to get into the project.
Yeah, you get into the project.
So we'll talk about.
If you own or are planning to start a business, you need to take a hard look at Baker, your one-stop shop for business, city licensing, services, and sensible tax rates. With low crime, it's a stone's throw from downtown Baton Rouge, the airport, and it's on the river with railways. Baker is not landlocked. Plank Road presents the traffic businesses need, and Main Street offers a hometown atmosphere. Baker and business are moving forward together. Are you looking to build or purchase a home? You need to take a hard look at Baker. Small town atmosphere that's good for families. Baker has everything you need. Shops, doctors, hospitals. It's near the airport and a stone's throw from downtown Baton Rouge. No traffic hassles and lots of community activities to be involved in. Ranked as one of the safest cities in Louisiana, Baker and families are moving forward together.
Welcome back, Baker. I want to continue on this conversation that we had. I want to go back to the locations if I can and talk about the locations. I think the first one that we want to discuss is the North Canal and how important that is. And Bill, I think that you want to talk a little bit about how does that play out, the North Canal?
Yeah, so the North Canal drains the Baker Estates area, which is on the north side of Baker, and it drains towards the north into the South Canal, which is a little confusing, but regardless, we're looking at about 1.5 miles of total canal. That's the main canal as well as the tributary that goes through the center of Baker Estates. And those canals have crossings at Wimbish and Burgess and Heath and also one other that I can't remember at the moment. That regardless, those internal structures tend to cause backup within the neighborhood. And what we're really seeing as a major problem in that area is not just sort of the major flooding, but also everyday flooding. If you drive through the area, the roadway crossings right at the canals are lower than the rest of the roadway, and it makes it a lot easier for that water to build up and flow over the roadway and trap residents within the neighborhood or within their particular street, force them to reroute through the neighborhood, or sometimes not be able to get out at all.
So in order to do what you guys are doing here, we named, I know Wimbush and Heath, I've been on those streets when it rains. That's gonna be, what you do on that canal, are you guys gonna come out into those smaller canals? We're gonna have to work together. That's gonna be a collaboration between the city and what you guys are doing to make sure that whatever you do in the canal, that water continues to flow out. Now that water flows where, Bill? Where does the water flow?
It flows north into the South Canal, and then the South Canal goes directly to the Mississippi River. So
It goes directly to the Mississippi River. So that's interesting. North Canal, South Canal. Now, just off the top of your head, and we're just talking here, the Comet Diversion project, is that going to take some water coming from the north off of that? Is that going to help us out?
yes, so the Comite diversion as well as the clean out that's happening right now in White's Bayou are both going to affect the downstream conditions.
Right.
And the main benefit of the Comite diversion is going to be to take a lot of the water that comes down from Zachary
Right.
now, and it's going to divert it straight to the Mississippi River. The South Canal is actually, it was actually a canal that was dug to provide relief for the area because the Comite can drain so slowly.
Right.
So that was done at a time when there wasn't much development. Now all the areas upstream have developed quite considerably, and so that's why the Comite's getting built. That's additional relief.
That's additional.
And so what that'll do is that'll take in the larger events. That'll take a lot of the backwater pressure off of that area, which means that now you're relying more on your local drainage. Well,
Right.
that's really what we're assessing here is the local drainage at the lower return intervals. I'm sorry, that would come across much more often. A 100-year flood event may flood, quite a few square miles
That's right.
versus what we're looking at, which is trying to keep the roadways open and everyday servicing.
Right. So this is something that has always been a big concern to me. I've always talked about it, and it's always hard for me to get people to understand that the local events for leadership is the most important things for me. But they cause really the most damage if you don't take care of them. And then that area, if you go back and you look at the data on that, those houses, a lot of those houses are part of repetitive flooding for years and years and years. So the project that we're talking about here is going to give them some relief, that's coming in there. And not only that, it's going to help us be able, with economic development, to be able to build more houses in that area, because there is a lot of land there, so the water is flowing, but the way the design that the water is flowing. So tell us a little bit about what exactly you guys are going to do in that canal. What kind of work are you going to do in that canal to open it up?
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about the progress we've made so far on North
Right.
Canal. So if you want to go to the next slide. So the project that's made the most progress so far is North Canal, and that's because we received the notice to proceed first on the
Right.
project. So far we have completed the site plan and visit, we've completed the survey, and we've developed an existing model. So right now we're currently developing a proposed model. So we're analyzing alternatives so we can determine the best solution. And in the steps we discussed earlier, once we determine that best solution, we're then able to go into engineering and design and then finally construction.
And with construction, when you say construction, what are you talking about?
So some of the alternatives may include deepening and widening the canal.
Right.
Some alternatives may include upsizing existing culverts that are within the canal and underneath the roadways, as we discussed earlier.
Right.
Some of it may just simply be cleaning.
Right.
A lot of the pictures, and you'll see some later on in our slide, show that these culverts are really full of debris.
Right.
So-
and that's a big deal. Now, will the people who live in those areas, will they be affected by the project itself, where they have to, take different roads, or you guys will be able to do this within what's going on in the community?
So what we've seen so far is we think we'll be able to work within the extents. Some right-of-way or drainage servitudes may be required so that we can get our equipment in there to complete the construction. If we do have to replace culverts underneath roads, maybe there would be some slight lane closures, because we
Right.
would also have to patch the roadway after we repair the culvert. We're still early on, But those are some of the ways that it could be impacts to the residents.
Yeah, that's going to
It'll be minor.
It's be minor, and they'll need to know. And you guys will notify the community and let them know what's going on. Now, real quick, tell me this. We're going to be right in the middle of the rainy season when you guys start here. How do you guys deal with that as you get a project that's ongoing and it continues to rain? How do you guys normally deal with that?
So it's actually helpful, especially when doing these drainage projects, to see how the current conditions interact with the rainfall and the amounts of rainfall that we get every day. The only bad impacts to it for our end is our survey crews. They want to go out there whenever it's not raining so that they can pick up accurate survey information within the channels.
So that's a good deal. So I mean, I'm learning a whole lot here from this. And it's going to help us as a city be able to plan out the next 5 years what you guys are doing, because really you're doing more, not just for that area, because it's impacting other areas where this water, not a lot of water is running here. And this is going to impact, like I said before, all those areas that's unbuilt that we can bring in and build more houses. So look, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the other locations, if you guys don't mind. I'm going to go pay some bills. I'll be right back.
Are you looking to build or purchase a home? You need to take a hard look at Baker. Small town atmosphere that's good for families. Baker has everything you need. Shops, doctors, hospitals. It's near the airport and a stone's throw from downtown Baton Rouge. No traffic hassles and lots of community activities to be involved in. Ranked as one of the safest cities in Louisiana, Baker and families are moving forward together. If you own or are planning to start a business, you need to take a hard look at Baker. Your one-stop shop for business, city licensing, services, and sensible tax rates. With low crime, it's a stone's throw from downtown Baton Rouge, the airport, and it's on the river with railways. Baker is not landlocked. Plank Road presents the traffic businesses need, and Main Street offers a hometown atmosphere. Baker and business are moving forward together.
Welcome back, Baker. As we can continue our discussion on our big drainage project here, we want to go back to the North Canal slide so we can continue to talk about that. So Ms. Bernard can tell us a little bit about this survey.
Okay, so as we mentioned, the survey has been completed for North Canal, and in the picture shown, the blue lines represent North Canal and the extents that we're actually studying. And then the red lines are where channel cross sections were surveyed. So on the left, you can also see some snapshots of culverts near Heath Drive and Wimbish Drive. And by the looks of these pictures, it is difficult for water to flow through the culverts. So whenever we complete our engineering analyses, we need to determine the best solution to improve these culverts. Some of these culverts may only just need to be cleaned out, whereas some culverts may need to be completely replaced or upgraded. So I'm going to hand it over to Bill to discuss the next slide. It's going to be more on the modeling of North Canal.
Okay, so as you see here on the right-hand side of the screen, it's the same map that we saw on the previous slide, and just to explain it a bit, the red lines are our computational cross-sections. It's a one-dimensional hydraulic model run using the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers program, HECRAS, and those are the actual locations where we think the water flow will be typically about perpendicular to where that line is. And so that helps us map the whole area and describe geometrically to our numerical model what the topography is, what the roughness of the existing topography is, especially once that water gets out of the banks of the channel. We know that it's going to flow over land, that roughness is going to be much higher than it would be inside the channel. And so we describe all of that there. And on the left-hand side, we've actually got the 1-year return interval modeling conditions. And that was something that we were curious to see on this project, because we know that we're really focusing on local rainfall, local drainage,
Right.
stuff that happens very often. Because when you're
Right.
looking at the economic impact of flooding, something that happens every year is going to have a much greater present value than something that happens once every 100 years.
Right.
That 100-year storm may have millions and millions and millions in damage, but what happens every single year, that's what a lot of people overlook
That's right.
when it comes to this stuff. So we wanted to really focus in on that. And what we came out with was even looking at all those culverts, and you saw in the survey that some of those had some debris. Even with those culverts being clean, we still have undersized drainage. And I think that has a lot to do about with when the subdivision was built and the
Right.
drainage standards in place at the time, what our expected rainfall was at the time. But regardless, if you see there, we almost perfectly predicted with our model the areas that have already been depopulated, the houses that are gone, that are in the low-lying areas that
Right.
flooded as repetitive loss structures.
Right.
A lot of those are gone, and when we did our modeling, it filled in those areas quite perfectly. So we feel like we've got a pretty good handle on our hydraulic modeling of the existing conditions. And what we've been able to demonstrate is that we actually trap people on Burgess and Wimbish
Right.
and Heath. Some portions of Heath,
Right.
some of them get to go down Deborah Drive there on high ground,
Right.
but definitely like all the houses on Wimbish within that area shown, they all get trapped
Right.
in a heavy rain, and so that has a very large economic impact, especially when
That's
it
right.
happens every year or potentially more than once a year.
With all the rain that we're getting. So let's move forward with the next two locations. And let's talk about this.
Okay, so our next project is Bozeman Creek. This area crosses Plank Road right at the Bethany Church.
Right.
And that's probably the largest crossing structure there, but we know that we have some backwater flooding as of right now. We should see that improve with as we discussed earlier, with some of the regional
Right.
flooding improvements that we're gonna see. But within this area, we do know that we've got problem flooding, not only from those structures, but some of the structures upstream. And so
Right.
at this point, we have not been able to put together a model at this stage of our analysis, but we are going out to get survey, and that's really where we're starting our analysis, is take a look at what we see as far as the surveyed points. We put together our hydrologic analysis
Right.
in anticipation of the survey to start looking at rainfall amounts, the total area, typifying the areas to see how much runoff they generate. And so that's where we are in that analysis.
Good deal here. I'm
So-
really excited. Go ahead.
So this picture actually shows the proposed survey plan, which is currently ongoing right now.
Right.
And you can see some snapshots of existing culverts during your everyday typical rainstorm. Some of the alternatives that we will analyze may be cleaning the culverts out, upgrading the culverts, but also deepening and widening Bozeman Creek survey.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about that. That sounds good. What's next?
All right, so the third and final project is Brushy Bayou. As you may know, even during your typical rainstorm, Brushy Bayou backs up. And that's because maybe 50% of the city drains into Brushy Bayou. And during your heavier rainstorms, Groom Road floods because of Brushy Bayou. And we all know Groom Road is an essential roadway for the citizens of Baker. So the flooding blocks passages to many important public facilities, including schools, the police station, and the fire station. And you can tell from the photo shown that a fire truck is even flooded. So we began surveying this month. When we're done with surveying, models will be developed and an engineering analysis will be completed to determine the best alternative. So this is also the survey plan shown for Brushy Bayou.
Right.
And survey efforts are ongoing, like I said. And the bottom left photo actually shows the estimated flooding area from the 2016 flood. And the blue represents the areas that flooded. So you can tell that
Wow.
most of this area flooded in 2016.
Right.
So I'll talk about the next steps in the next slide. Just to wrap everything up, like we said, North Canal is currently in the proposed modeling phase, and it's in the preliminary stages of engineering and design. Both Bozeman Creek and Brushy Bayou, they're both being surveyed right now, and
Okay.
we're in the really preliminary stages of developing the existing model. So once we develop engineering and design plans for all three of these projects, FEMA and GOSEP will review the projects and then decide whether or not we can move into construction.
Okay. Well, I'm excited about these projects, and I just want to thank you all. I know this has been a lot of work. You guys don't know this, but we took this project on our own. We submitted this grant from in-house. We didn't hire anybody to submit the grant. We didn't know all the stuff that you guys are talking about. We went out and researched it, and we saved a lot of money on the grant to go toward the project, and that was the plan. So I want to thank all those people that were a part of that. Julie McCullough, Ginger Vaughn, the late Ginger Vaughn, she did a lot of work. She passed away, and then Becky came in and she did a lot of work to move the grant to the point where we are now doing the RFPs ourselves. And my whole goal was to put the money in the engineer's hand so we can do the work. So we want to thank you all for being here. You guys, I hope you guys got excited about this. I'm really, really excited about it. And stay tuned now as we move forward with this. And we're gonna pray that this is gonna help reduce this water. You guys have a great month, and remember to keep your mask on. And I'll see you next time. Love you, Baker. Have a good night.